Still Wakes the Deep is a first-person horror game set on a North Sea oil rig in 1975. You play as an oil rig worker navigating the claustrophobic, storm-lashed environment after a catastrophic event. Cut off from the outside world, you must survive against an unknown, lurking terror while dealing with environmental hazards and the isolation of the rig. The game focuses heavily on atmosphere and storytelling and a sense of dread, blending survival and narrative-driven gameplay. After doing some research on developer Chinese Room, they were inspired by other titles like The Thing, and they wanted that atmosphere but on an oil rig. The developers were influenced by the 70s horror films like Don't Look Now and Rosemary's Baby, which use recurring imagery and motifs to build a sense of dread. The game's claustrophobic environments are influenced by the developers' own experiences, with confined spaces aiming to evoke feelings of isolation and unease. Even though the game has a fictional story, I was curious if there had ever been a homicide on an oil rig in real life, and what psychological effects would lead someone to murder somebody on an isolated oil rig stranded at sea. Well, it turns out that in December of 22, a tragic incident occurred on an oil rig off the coast of Qatar. Robbie Robson, a 38-year-old British worker from Cleedon, Tyne and Wear, was fatally attacked by his roommate, Scott Forrest, a 43-year-old from Aberdeenshire, Scotland. Forrest bludgeoned Robson to death using a 10-kilogram iron weight in their shared accommodation. Following the assault, Forrest reportedly went to the canteen for breakfast, behaving as if nothing had even happened. This is according to The Times, a British newspaper based in London. During legal proceedings in December of 23, Forrest was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison by the Qatari courts. Robson's family had initially been informed that Forrest could face the death penalty if found guilty of murder. The family has expressed dissatisfaction with the manslaughter conviction and the length of the sentence, describing it as woeful. They are appealing for the initial charge of murder to be reinstated and for a more substantial sentence to be imposed. This was reported by the British Broadcasting Corporation, otherwise known as BBC. As far as what would drive someone to do this, I am no expert, but isolation on an oil rig can have profound psychological effects due to factors like confinement, monotony, and lack of social outlets. Cabin fever can lead to violent outbursts, especially when you think about the interpersonal tension between these two people. Sleep deprivation, stress, and being overworked can lead many oil rig workers to face irregular work schedules and face harsh environments. All that stress could lead to impaired judgment, loss of impulse control, and loss of empathy towards others. Not justification, just hypotheses.